my YouTube channel, #MovieBay. I am MovieBay, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a spoiler review over Don't Worry Darling, starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. But before we get into it though, be sure y'all drop down and hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more videos just like this. Alright, so this video, like I said, is going to be a spoiler review. I'm going to start with a recap, and I'm going to give you my honest opinions on this. And they will be honest. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so the synopsis reads, a 1950s housewife and her husband live in a utopian experimental community, and her seemingly perfect world begins to crash down when she figures out that the community is hiding some dark secrets. So we are introduced to our lead protagonists, Jack and Alice Chambers. I wonder why her name is Alice. We'll probably get into that later. And they are just one of the many couples in this utopian community. It's based in the 1950s, so the women stay at home and the men go to work, right? So Jack works for the Victory Company, which is a really top secret company. He claims he's an engineer, but his wife doesn't even know the details of which his job really entails. So while all the men go off to work every day at the same time, the women stay home and do housewife duties. They clean, they go out with each other, they sit by the pool, they go shopping, they come home, they cook, and then they're there to retrieve their men when they get home from work. So about like 15 to 20 minutes into the film, we are introduced to a new couple whose their name are really insignificant. But the founder, Frank, played by Chris Pine, invites them and the rest of the community to his house to welcome them. And at that party, we have another housewife named Margaret, who has apparently seen the cracks in the Victory Company, and she calls attention to the secrets that they are hiding from them. She is, of course, dismissed from the party to, quote-unquote, calm down, but Alice follows her out. Now, a little bit later in the movie, we find out by Bunny, who is played by Olivia Wilde, also the director of this film, that Margaret had ventured out into the desert that they are forbidden to go, and she hasn't been the same since, and her child was also gone as well as a result of that. So this obviously piques Alice's interest. Margaret was a close friend of theirs, and she's starting to think that maybe Margaret wasn't crazy. So one day after going shopping, she decides not to get off the trolley and goes to the last stop, which is at the Victory Factory. She decides to get off the trolley against the driver's wishes, and she goes out and ventures beyond the point of which they are supposed to go. She touches this big glass building, and then all of a sudden she's back in her bed with no memory of what happened afterwards. Now, after this incident, her husband Jack is acting like, no, you've been here the whole time when I got home from work, but you forgot to cook. So he's trying to cook, and she's just like really confused. Like, I know I was out there. I know I saw something. How am I back in my bed, right? So she kind of digresses or whatever, and they go back to the regular schmegler program. Now, after having had touched the building, Alice realizes that everything is off. So the next day when she's cooking breakfast, she goes to crack an egg, and first off, the egg is deformed a little bit, and she squeezes it and it's empty. It's nothing but shells. She does this over and over and over again, and it's like all the food is basically fake. She also has other incidences like this. She has an outburst during their ballet practice. She's having bad dreams of sequences of ballet and swimmers and organization and order and form and things like that. And she now has this song playing in her head, but she can't figure out where she knows it from. Alice is quickly going crazy, and when I say quickly, I emphasis on quickly. So her husband Jack gets a promotion at work at this big party that they are at, and Alice just really, really wants to go home. She doesn't feel well. It's like she's legit panicking and freaking out. So she goes into the bathroom with Bonnie to, confide in her and tell her, hey, I went out, I touched this building, and ever since then, nothing has been the same. And Bonnie basically tells Alice, bitch, you tripping. You shouldn't have gone out there. I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. The next night, Alice hosts a dinner party and inviting a couple of the couples from the city, the newer people, and of course the manager, the founder, Frank, to the party, right? At this party, while she's preparing drinks for everyone, Frank comes up to her and like lets her know, I know what you know, and I know that you know. Basically. And he kind of like challenges her. He was like, you know what? But I ain't even gonna kick you out. Like, I like the challenge. So when they go back to the table, she like... This was funny. She, you know how the men sit at the head of the table? She booty bumped her husband out the way and she sat at the head of the table right across from Frank. Now, at this dinner scene, she basically challenges everything Frank has told the community. And she starts like poking holes in everybody's story about how they were there, how they met, and etc. The couples are getting nervous. One of the friends who's, I forgot her name, but yeah, one of the friends, she's trying to like make right of all the accusations, like, oh, well, that's probably this, probably that. And Alice is just like, no. Now, all of that comes to a halt when Frank mentions that he slept with Alice. He was like, you wasn't saying all that when you were in my bed type shit. And I was like, no, when did that happen? We'll get to all that later, okay, y'all? We'll get to all that later. So at that point, the dinner party is safe to say over. Everybody leaves. Jack and Frank talk outside, and Jack comes back in, talks to Alice. Alice is crying and saying how she wants to leave, and Jack apparently agrees. They pack up, they get in the car, and out of nowhere, these guys in the orange jumpsuits who they play as security for the community, they pull her out of the car, and he's just like, I'm sorry. So at that point, we don't really know what's going to happen, but it flashes to Alice having electric shock therapy being done on her to apparently erase her memory of what she saw when she touched the building. Now, when Alice comes back, she's a little bit changed, but not really, because little hints kind of spark her memory to how her life was before she was in the project. So the electroshock therapy was supposed to erase her memory, but in all actuality, it helped her regain her memory. So we have a flashback. Well, first off, she kind of has like a little, brain headache. She drops to the floor, and we get a flashback to how her and Jack's life were before they entered the project. She was an MD, by the way, a medical doctor, working double shifts to provide for her and Jack because he lost his job and they live in a shitty ass apartment. It makes no sense though, because if you're a doctor, bitch, why are you living in a shitty ass apartment? Like, your husband can lose his job and y'all shouldn't be down this bad. You know what I'm saying? So I'll get to that a little bit later. But because she's working so much, she doesn't have as much love and affection. And ladies, like, come on, like, when your dude don't have a job, you are like less turned on. Like, let's be honest. Like, your manning is not manning, okay? I'm not turned on by this. Anyways, so she goes to sleep, and we see that Jack is listening to this podcast of Frank, and he's talking about this utopian 1950s reality and toxic masculinity, traditionalist type lifestyle, okay? So we find out that Jack subjects Alice to this virtual reality project to live in this utopia against her will. Like, she does not know, okay?
And that's when we also see and find out that the images and dreams that Alice has been having is literally the projections that is her hallucination while she is in this comatose state.
He's full aware, but she is not. So when she comes to, flashback to present day, she lets Jack know that I know what's going on. I know the deal. That's a Raven. I just had a vision, okay? And he basically admits to it. And he was like, life is better like this. You know what I'm saying? And he goes into this rant where he was talking about, you were working all the time and we weren't happy and you're happy now, but I got to go to work every day. It's like, it's giving you want to be a bum. It's giving you want to be the housewife. It's giving Gen Z and late millennials. That's what it's giving to me. All right. So anyways, he's like squeezing her, like, don't go, don't leave, I'm sorry, And I don't know if this is in reality or if it was in her head, but she felt like he was like choking her or like squeezing like the life out of her. And she smashes a glass over his head. He dies. Bunny comes in and she sees Jack dead. And she's like, if somebody dies in the virtual reality world, they die in the real world. So you got to get out or they're going to come to your house and kill you. Now, we find out that Bunny is full aware of the project because she's the only woman who has volunteered to be a part of the project because her children died in the real world, but in the virtual reality, they're still there, which doesn't make sense to me because in the movie, she acts like she doesn't even like them fucking kids. But it's whatever, yo. So Alice basically leaves. It's a whole car chase shit. She gets back up to the building, touches the glass, and fade to fucking black. And fade to fucking black, yo. We hear a gasp, and that's it. And the fucking movie is over. So let's get into this review. Oh, I have a lot of gripes with this film, so let's go ahead and get my pros out the way. One, the style for the 1950s was styled so well. The women's clothes, ooh, they were bad bitches, okay? So I like that. I liked how it was shot. It was very vivid, bright colors. When you think 1950s, you got to think vivid and bright and pastels and shit like that. And the last pro is it was very well acted from all characters on all fronts, in my personal opinion. All characters, even Harry Styles. Granted, I don't know who this guy is. I've only heard his name. But I feel like he did a good job, especially when it came to the scenes of being angry. All right? So now, let's go ahead and get into my cons, y'all.
So I did enjoy the themes of this movie, you know, like the traditionalist, toxic masculinity versus feminism, you know, common Stepford Wives type things. I just feel like it wasn't executed in the best way for me.
First and foremost, it was unrealistic. And I know it's sci-fi, but at the same time, this is the community they were in was very diverse for it to be the 1950s. It's like were the women that brainwashed where they forgot about history and segregation. You know what I'm saying? Another thing I didn't like was it just didn't make any sense. So the guys go to work every day, meaning they leave the virtual reality world and they have to work in the real world and take care of their comatose wives. But at the same time, what about those wives' families? What about their jobs they had? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's questioning where they are. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a point. There's just a lot of holes in the movie. It's like when Frank mentioned that he slept with Alice, it's like, when did that happen? No, they wasn't even, I mean, I guess it could have been hinted to, but it's like, don't bring something up and not fulfill it. Like, I didn't even see when that could have happened. You know what I'm saying?
Then on top of that, it's virtual reality. Like, when, Sway? When could that have happened?
Like, that's some juice I would have preferred versus some ink blot. Also, how is it that Alice was a fucking doctor and they were struggling? It made no sense. And then it was a point in the movie where I low-key kind of got bored or just frustrated with not having answers. And I was just like, I'm here to see how it ends. You know, I'm just here to see the ending. I just want to see it all come together now. And then when it got to the end, I was left unsatisfied. Unsatisfied with the end. I still didn't get my answers and it was very anticlimactic. It was just like, oh, and then Alice also, to me, like everything happened so quickly for her. You know what I'm saying? Like all her spazzing outs and her dreams and everything just happened so fast. Like she was just in fear. I want to go home. Like, it's like, damn, bitch, what did you see? And they still didn't tell us what she fucking saw. Like, did she see herself? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't fucking know. I just personally, out of 5 stars, I give this movie a 2 because it was just a lot of unanswered questions. And I feel like if they would have cut out all the I'm trying to be different type shit and left it where we concentrated on the story more, I would have been more happy. You know what I'm saying? My final thing that I want to mention is with the stylistic choices. There were stylistic choices that made sense. So like right before the big dinner, after Alice had already touched the glass, she seeps down into the bathtub, but her reflection of her is still in the mirror. It's something that we've seen done before, but little things like that is what could have made this movie different versus that extra I'm trying to be weird shit and it's just not working. The images, the score, it was just giving I'm trying too hard. That's my biggest con of this movie. Thank y'all so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. Be sure y'all like this video if you enjoyed my commentary. Leave a comment down below. Did you enjoy this film? Am I just bugging? Let me know. And of course, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos just like this. I'll see y'all next time. It's a date.